In this presentation, I will be giving a brief summary of what I learned from interviewing my grandma, of which I call Ba'e, and also things I learned about my grandma, and not just my grandma, but also the history of the Philippines. So before interviewing my grandma, I knew that if I wanted her to share stories and information about herself that I haven't heard about yet, I would have to give her a broad question to have her have a lengthy answer. And if I were to count how many questions I asked her during the whole 30-minute interview, I would probably count no more than 4 questions. And knowing my grandma and most Filipinos, I was aware that she was probably not going to want to share things that didn't make her seem like the most impressive person ever. So as the interview progressed, I interviewed my grandma in a casual way, as if we were having any other day-to-day conversation that like we always have. And doing that, she forgot all about the interview, and she talked way more about her past, both the good and the bad. While the whole interview process was interesting, it was even more interesting to learn more things about my grandma that I didn't know before. Most of my grandma's life story I had already heard multiple times prior to the interview. However, this interview also made me learn a lot more, not only about my grandma, but also the history of the Philippines, as I mentioned earlier. One of the most interesting things I learned about my grandma is that she was born during the time where the Philippines was colonized by Japan. So she had to be born in a dugout. When she saw the confused look on my face, she explained that a dugout was a hole that the Filipinos had to use to try and hide from the Japanese who invaded the Philippines. Something else I learned prior to this interview, I already knew that English is currently one of the official languages of the Philippines, but I didn't know that during the time my grandma immigrated to the United States, it was still one of the official languages. So when I asked my grandma if there was a language barrier when she first moved to the U.S. and if she found it hard communicating with others at first, she told me that the only hard part about communicating with others was her accent. And other than that, she was fine, and she didn't even need to learn English because she was already fluent, which I found really cool. There's a lot more to my grandma than just those 2 facts, but this presentation has come to an end. But I just wanted to say that I really love this assignment because it helped me learn a lot more about my grandma and just the process of interviewing in general.